One of the most unconscious human activities that can also be considered as the most underrated one is human breathing. It doesn't demand attention because we do it automatically and unconsciously. But it must be understood that breathing is determined by many underlying factors, and once they are disrupted, our breathing pattern also changes, and with that, our life. Even though breathing is just a basic physiological and biological need, the very existence of a living being is identified by whether a person is breathing or not. By law of averages, you will take a total of 670 million breaths in your entire lifetime. What is breathing? In simple biological or medical terms, breathing is a simple mechanism of respiration. That is, inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. Whereas physiologically, breathing is just one of the many functions involved in the process of respiration. Many ancient cultures have studied breathing and have formed a deeper understanding and opinion about its importance in our lives. The understanding of breath in ancient India came from the concept of prana, which is a Sanskrit word that translates to breath, air, or the sacred essence of life, the vital energy that drives us forward in life. As some might know, breathing is a very important part of yoga and pranayama that contributes to the art of breath control. The yogis of India since ancient times have mastered this science of breathing and have discovered that there are 49 types of breath. Each type of breath corresponds to a different state of mind. There is also a 50th state known as nirvikalpa samadhi, the ultimate state of transcendence and spiritual realization in which the realized yogi no longer holds a breath or a pulse. It is fascinating to know that there are different types of breathing patterns that occur when we experience emotions of anger, excitement, the various states of sleep, and so on. 7 books of the Chinese Tao dating back to around 400 BCE focus entirely on breathing, exploring the ways how it could kill us or heal us depending on how we use it. These manuscripts include detailed instruction on how to regulate our breath, slow it, hold it, and ultimately swallow it. Chinese philosophy denotes qi as a cosmic or vital essence which is related to our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. In Japan, a person's breath plays a very important role in the spiritual disciplines and martial arts. The Japanese had their own name for prana, ki, which was similar to the Greeks' pneuma, Hebrews' rach, Iroquois' orenda, and so on. Breathing, for all these people who represent different cultures, is a powerful medicine. The understanding of breath in the West started perhaps in ancient Greece. The Greek word pneuma refers to air, breath, the spirit and life essence. The Greeks understood the close relationship that exists between the breath and a person's psyche. The word pren refers to both the mind and the diaphragm, which is the largest muscle involved in the process of breathing. In spite of the infinite wealth of knowledge that was passed on to us by our forebears, today, in the scientific paradigm, which is also the predominant way in the West, our perception of breath has been stripped of traditional sacred notions. It can also be alternately said that this perception has been reduced to nothing more than just a physiological function. Moreover, instead of understanding the meaning of variations and disorders associated with breathing that indirectly reflect our inner state, we have labeled them as physical pathologies. But today, we can see an awakening. There is an increased awareness through yoga and pranayama practitioners who have helped people to understand and work on their breathing patterns for improving their health. The Germans have schools devoted to breathing techniques. The New York hospital has a 24-hour hotline that constantly dispenses tips for better breathing. People trained in singing, acting, and sports activities get simultaneously coached in the art of breathing. Martial arts, alternative healing, or other holistic healing methods have all thrown light on breathing as medicine for any chronic disease. 2 important factors associated with the exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide are that they regulate the pH balance and facilitate the loss of excessive body fat in order to maintain a healthy body weight. Today, we're going to learn more about breathing through a scientific lens. What happens to us and our body when we receive a lesser supply of oxygen than usual? What difference does it make when you receive oxygen at a healthy level and when it's imbalanced and mixed with carbon dioxide? Maintaining the acid-alkaline base balance in our blood is vital for our survival, and pH, i.e., potential of hydrogen, is a scale to measure the same. It denotes the concentration of hydrogen ions in our body. Oxygenated cells keep the body alkalized, while normal blood pH is set at 7.4, which is slightly alkaline or basic. If the pH drops below 7.2 or rises above 7.6, then very soon, our brains would cease to function normally and we would be in big trouble. Blood pH levels below 6.9 or above 7.9 are usually fatal if they last for more than a short time. The problem with our breathing. It is a known fact that humans had previously survived as hunters and gatherers for thousands of years. Advancement in technology substituted human labor and efforts that are concentrated more on physical and mental energy and strength. Sedentary lifestyle has become the accepted society norm today. Our breathing has changed, and so has our state of health and well-being. Normal breathing, also known as diaphragmatic breathing, involves synchronized motion of the upper rib cage, lower rib cage, and the abdomen. Additionally, normal breathing requires adequate use and functionality of the diaphragm muscles. Abnormal breathing, on the other hand, known as thoracic breathing, involves breathing through the upper chest, evidenced by a greater upper rib motion as compared to the lower rib cage one. Since this confirms poor diaphragm action, and the fact that the diaphragm is associated both with postural and breathing functions, disruption in any one can negatively affect the other. Hence, individuals with poor posture, lower back pain, neck pain, and joint pain exhibit signs of faulty breathing mechanics. The most common breathing abnormalities are overbreathing and mouth breathing. Overbreathing, like overeating, describes a breathing pattern that exceeds the body metabolic demand. Most of us breathe too much, and that's the reason why up to a quarter of the modern population suffers from serious chronic overbreathing issues. Heart disease, ulcers, and chronic inflammation are linked to disturbances in circulation, blood pH, and metabolism. The manner in which we breathe affects all these functions. If breathing exceeds merely 20% or by even 10% more than the body needs, it could weaken and falter our daily system. Mouth breathing is another major danger. Inhaling through the nose stimulates the brain, but inhaling through the mouth, however, causes very little stimulation. Cognition may work better when we inhale through our nose, especially when we are in a state of worry or fear. Mouth breathing causes the body to lose 40% more water than usual. It can make you dumber. A recent Japanese study showed that rats who had their nostrils obstructed were forced to breathe through their mouths, deployed fewer brain cells, and took twice as long to make their way through a maze than the time they took using nasal breathing controls. Another Japanese study carried out on humans in 2013 concluded that mouth breathing delivers a disturbance of oxygen to the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain associated with ADHD. The question, therefore, is, what is the type of breathing that is healthy for us? Several studies prove that the optimum breathing rate is about 5.5 breaths per minute. That means 5.5 second inhales and 5.5 second exhales, which equals to 5.5 breaths a minute for a total of about 5.5 liters of air. This is the perfect breathing. The deeper and more softly we breathe in and the longer we exhale, the more slowly the heart beats and the calmer we become. As molecules of breath descend deeper, they switch on parasympathetic nerves, which send more signals for the organs to rest and digest. As the air ascends through the lungs during exhalation, the molecules stimulate an even more powerful parasympathetic response. The yogi's life is not measured by the number of his days, but the number of his breaths, wrote B.K.S. Iyengar, an Indian yoga teacher who spent years in bed as a sick child until he learned yoga and breathed himself back to good health. He died in 2014 at the age of 95. How we breathe, whether it is slow or fast, is determined by the level of carbon dioxide in our body. Therefore, chemoreceptor flexibility is the key here. Physical limits are only half of it. Apart from that, our mental health relies on a chemoreceptor flexibility too. The nagging need to breathe is activated from a cluster of neurons called the central chemoreceptors, located at the base of the brainstem. When we're breathing too slowly and the carbon dioxide levels rise, the central chemoreceptors monitor these changes and send alarm signals to the brain, thereby assisting our lungs to breathe faster and deeper. Similarly, when we're breathing too quickly, these chemoreceptors direct the body to breathe more slowly to increase carbon dioxide levels. This is how our bodies determine how fast and how often we breathe, not by the amount of oxygen, but by the amount of carbon dioxide in our body. Slow breathing focuses on deep and slow breaths. It is important to understand that slow breathing is not similar to shallow breathing, which is a quite dangerous method. With shallow breathing, less oxygen is supplied not only to our body, but also to our brain. So, it is no surprise that issues like the inability to focus, lack of clear thinking, fatigue, stress, and anxiety can follow in such a situation. Shallow breathing is hazardous for the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a crucial part of the circulatory system and also plays an important role in developing our body's immunity. If our lymphatic system is sluggish, it means that the body cells are receiving less oxygen, less nutrients, and that many toxins are building up in the tissues. While cancer is an ideal example of a low oxygen-related disease, shortness of breath is also linked to diseases related to the heart. Asthma, arthritis, anxiety, fatigue, depression, headaches, high blood pressure, sleep disorders, and weight disorders are other consequences of poor breathing. Slow breathing increases longevity. Mammals with the slowest resting heart rates live the longest, and it's no coincidence that these are consistently the same mammals that breathe the slowest. The only way to retain a slow resting heart rate is to breathe slowly. This is as true for baboons and bisons as it is for the blue whales and us. Such type of breathing is practiced in several ancient cultures through prayers and chanting. When Buddhist monks chant their most popular mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, their each spoken phrase lasts approximately for 6 seconds, with 6 seconds to inhale before the chant starts again. The traditional chant of Om, the second sound of the universe, used in Hindu and other traditions, takes 6 seconds to sing, with a pause of about 6 seconds to inhale. Whenever they follow this slow breathing pattern, the blood flow to the brain increases rapidly and the body systems enter a state of coherence, i.e., when the functions of the heart, circulation, and nervous systems are coordinated in peak efficiency. Nasal breathing is healthy breathing. We breathe through the left nostril and the right nostril following what is called a nasal cycle. Breathing through the right nostril feeds more blood to the opposite hemisphere of the brain, specifically to the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with language, computing, and our ability to make logical decisions. Inhaling through the left nostril has the opposite effect. The left nostril is more deeply connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and relax side that lowers temperature and blood pressure, cools the body, and therefore reduces anxiety. Left nostril breathing shifts blood flow to the opposite side of the prefrontal cortex, the right area that plays a pivotal role in creative thought, emotions, formation of mental abstractions, and negative emotions. Science has proved that a change in our left-right breathing pattern can affect our mental health. In 2015, researchers at the University of California, San Diego, recorded the breathing patterns of a schizophrenic woman over the course of 3 consecutive years and found that she had a significant greater left nostril dominance. This breathing habit, they hypothesized, was likely overstimulating the right side creative part of her brain, and as a result, prodded her imagination to run amok. Over several sessions, the researchers taught her to breathe through her opposite logical nostril, and later, she experienced far fewer hallucinations. The good news is that you can train yourself to breathe better. You can control the functions of your chemoreceptor through daily practice. Great athletes do it. This is why some elite mountain climbers can summit Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen, and why some freedivers can hold their breath underwater for 10 minutes. All of these people have trained their chemoreceptors to withstand extreme fluctuations in carbon dioxide without creating a situation of panic. There are many ways to check out and understand different breathing patterns. Place one hand on your upper chest and the other hand on your abdomen and just breathe. If the hand on your chest moves as you breathe, but the one on your abdomen does not, you're definitely a chest breather. If your ribs remain motionless, your breathing is too shallow. Even if your belly moves, if the length of your exhalation is shorter compared to the length of the following inhalation, it means that you're overbreathing. Mouth breathing is fairly easy to notice. If you're not sure, ask your friends or try to catch yourself at unguarded moments. Breathing might look like a simple biological function of our body, but it's surely a lot more than that. The manner in which we breathe affects us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So, how do you breathe? Most of the time, our breathing is controlled involuntarily so that we don't need to consciously think about it. However, there are many instances where we need to voluntarily control it in order to produce the desired level of breathing required for the different physical activities. We are all born as belly breathers. Just observe infants and their belly breath. Most of us grow up to eventually become shallow breathers. Take some time out of your busy schedule to observe how you breathe. Research shows for the first time that breathing, a key element of meditation and mindfulness practices, directly affects the levels of a natural chemical messenger in the brain called noradrenaline. This chemical messenger is released when we are challenged, curious, exercised, focused, or emotionally aroused, and, if produced at the right levels, helps the brain grow newer connections, like a brain fertilizer. The way we breathe, in other words, directly affects the chemistry of our brain in a way that can enhance our attention span and improve our brain's health. The study carried out by researchers at Trinity College Institute of Neuroscience and the Global Brain Health Institute at Trinity found out that participants who focused well while undertaking a task that demanded a lot of attention had greater synchronization between their breathing patterns and their attention than those who had a poor focus. The researchers believe that it may be possible to use breath control practices to stabilize attention and boost brain health. It is possible that by focusing on and regulating your breathing, you can optimize your attention level, and likewise, by focusing on your attention level, your breathing can become more synchronized. There are many ways to alter your state of mind and body, and breathing is the key to achieve that. This means that you can take control of your body and mind by changing the way you breathe. Breathing is a powerful tool to calm the mind. Breathing, following a breath, helps to focus the mind and bring you back to the present moment. Buddha taught that paying attention to the breath was a fundamental meditation technique. He said, being sensitive to the whole body, the yogi breathes in. Being sensitive to the whole body, the yogi breathes out. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is a pioneer in the fields of mindfulness-based stress reduction therapy, made a powerful connection that exists between meditations and breathing when he wrote, "The breath is the current connecting body and mind. It is the current of life." Meditative breathing is a way to connect with the here and now, which is life itself. Meditative breathing teaches the mind and body to let go. Like the breath, troubling thoughts and feelings come and go too. As you learn to quiet your mind by paying attention to your breathing, distractions lose their power to disrupt your focus and disturb your mind. Breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, unites your body to your thoughts. Whenever your mind becomes scattered, use your breath as a means to take hold of your mind again, says Thich Nhat Hanh. Mindful breathing is an excellent way to improve your ability to focus, and naturally, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Observe your breathing as if you're a curious scientist who has never encountered anything like it before. Notice every little sensation, the air moving in and out of your nostrils, the rise and fall of your shoulders, the lifting and lowering of your rib cage, the rise and fall of your abdomen. Notice how all these elements interact effortlessly. After the first 10 breaths, allow your breathing to find its own natural rhythm. We all have our own way of breathing. If you observe others' breathing patterns, you will see a great variation in the speed, depth, location in the lungs, and in the length and type of pause between two breaths. The significance of a particular breathing pattern varies from person to person, but they all say something about the way the person interacts with life. Shallow breathing often accompanies fear, however subtly that fear might be felt. Deep, full breathing often accompanies confidence, however quietly that confidence might be expressed. When a full breather takes shallow breaths over a prolonged period, they begin to feel the hint of panic that the lack of oxygen can induce. The shallow breather can feel that all the time, without being aware of it. Breathing can change in response to the changes in your emotions such as sadness, happiness, anxiety, or fear. You can also change your breathing pattern to ultimately change your emotions. Deep and slow breathing into the belly is a strong medicine for anxiety, fear, and anger. When we cry, for example, we usually gulp air into our upper chest. It is almost impossible to cry and breathe into your belly at the same time. Belly breathing loosens the grip of such feelings, return to the upper chest breathing, and emotion along with the tears will also return. In the midst of such strong emotions, the joy of breathing can be utilized to ease any emotional pain and stress. The real key to managing your emotional state through breath work is to become aware of how you breathe as you go through your day and practice more calming and joyful breathing. We need to practice breathing techniques like the breathing of joy, not just when we're in the grip of a strong feeling, but daily, as a routine, much like brushing our teeth. Breathing goes beyond emotions, and it has a major connection with our spiritual self as well. It has been a preoccupation of many spiritual practices in almost all ancient cultures, and therefore is also considered a means to attain inner peace and illumination. Yogis and Zen masters alike have traditionally begun their teachings by having their students focus on their breathing. Breath-focused meditation and yogic breathing practices have numerous known cognitive benefits, including an increased ability to focus, decreased mind wandering, improved arousal levels, more positive emotions, and decreased emotional reactivity, amongst the many others. Vietnamese Zen master and author Thich Nhat Hanh says that meditative breathing is a tool to calm the mind so that people can see inside of themselves and gain insights. It strengthens our mind's concentration and stimulates compassion by awakening each person's true nature, which leads to enlightenment. Breathing has several physical benefits too, especially in weight loss. Fat is made up of oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. When oxygen makes its way to reach the fat molecules, it breaks them down into carbon dioxide and water. The blood filters out the carbon dioxide and gives it to the lungs to be exhaled finally. The carbon dioxide in every exhale has some weight, and it is a fact that we exhale more weight than we inhale. And the way the body loses weight isn't through profusely sweating or burning it off. We lose weight through exhaling. According to Pam Grout, the author of the book Jumpstart Your Metabolism, How to Lose Weight by Changing the Way You Breathe, you do not have a weight problem, but you have breathing problems. She reasons out why breathing helps in weight loss and states that the increased oxygen intake while doing breathing exercises burns the body fat in a similar way in which physical exercise does when it transports oxygen to the body cells. In other words, a sufficient amount of oxygen is needed to burn the excess fat that has been accumulated in the body. The truth is that skimpy breathing is nothing but a catalyst for the weight problem. If you correct your futile breathing patterns, you can automatically lose weight. For every 10 pounds of fat lost in our bodies, 8.5 pounds of it comes out through the lungs, most of which is carbon dioxide mixed in with a bit of water vapor. The rest is sweated or urinated out. Therefore, our lungs are the weight-regulating system of the body. Right breathing habits not only keep you healthy, but also improve your longevity by improving and maintaining your lung capacity. Studies have proved that there is a direct correlation between lung size and longevity. In the 1980s, researchers of the Framingham study, a 70-year longitudinal research program that focused on heart diseases, attempted to find out if the lung size really did correlate to longevity. They gathered 2 decades of data from 5,200 subjects, crunched the numbers, and discovered that the greatest indicator of lifespan wasn't genetics, diet, or the amount of daily exercise, as many had suspected, but it was the lung capacity. The smaller and less efficient lungs became, the quicker subjects got sick and died. The cause of deterioration didn't matter because smaller lungs ultimately meant shorter lives, whereas larger lungs equaled longer lives. The lungs themselves lose about 12% of their capacity in between the ages of 30 to 50 and continue to decline at an even faster rate as we get older, with women faring worse than men. If we make it to 80, we'll be able to take in 30% less air than we used to in our 20s. We'll be forced to breathe faster and harder. Such breathing habits lead to chronic problems like high blood pressure, immune disorders, and anxiety. But what the Tibetans have long known and what the Western science is now discovering is that aging doesn't have to be a one-way path towards the decline. The internal organs are malleable and we can change them at nearly any time. Freedivers know this better than anyone. There are freedivers who have increased their lung capacity by an astonishing 30 to 40%. Herbert Nitsch, a multiple world record holder, reportedly has lung capacity of 14 liters, more than double of that of an average male. Neither Nitsch nor any of the other freedivers started out like this. They made their lungs larger by the force of their will. They taught themselves how to breathe in ways that dramatically helped in changing the internal organs of their bodies. Studies have proved that moderate exercise like walking or cycling has been shown to boost lung size by up to 15%. Therefore, the bottom line is that increasing your lung capacity is a recipe for longevity. The practice of breathing. Most people are quite poor at holding their breaths, but if you're able to work on your central chemoreceptors and make efforts that would help the rest of your brain in becoming more flexible to different carbon dioxide levels, you can surely and also improve your capacity to hold breath. Breath holding is a technique that will assist you in improving your lung capacity. You can change your breathing pattern consciously and therefore take control of the way you feel, think, and even alter your body to become healthier and happier. There are several breathing techniques that you can try out like Pranayama, Budako, coherent breathing, hyperventilation, breathing coordination, holotropic breathwork, Adama, Madhyama, Uttama, Kevala, embryonic breath, and harmonizing breath. You can add some conscious breathing to your daily routine with one of these 5 methods. Method 1. Alternate nostril breathing or Nadi Shodhana. There's a yoga practice dedicated to manipulating the body's functions with forced breathing through the nostrils. It's called Nadi Shodhana. In Sanskrit, Nadi means channel, and Shodhana means purification, or more commonly, alternate nostril breathing. This is how you can practice the art of Nadi Shodhana. 1. Sit up straight and place your left hand comfortably on your left knee. 2. Now, place the tip of your right index finger and middle finger in the space between your eyebrows. Slowly start moving your right thumb and bring it on your right nostril. Position your right ring finger near your left nostril. 3. By pressing your thumb down on your right nostril, start exhaling through your left nostril until there is no more air in your lungs. Continue breathing in deeply through your left nostril. 4. Release the pressure on your right nostril. Press it down with your ring finger on your left nostril and exhale through your right nostril until there is no more air in your lungs. 5. Now, release the pressure on your left nostril and breathe in through your right nostril. 6. Repeat steps 3 through 5. Remain in a comfortable position and repeat this sequence at least 5 to 7 times. Method 2. Deep breathing for relaxation. 1. Firstly, exhale all the air from your lungs. 2. After the first step, try to inhale slowly through the nose to the count of 6. 3. Hold your breath and exhale slowly to the count of 6. 4. Don't forget to check your posture. Observe if you are slouching while exhaling or not, and if you're doing so, readjust your position to ensure a straight spine and repeat steps 2 through 4. You can do the exercise while lying, sitting, or standing. Do this 10 times each evening or when you start to feel stressed or overwhelmed. Method 3. Deep breathing for energy. 1. The first step in this method requires you to exhale all the air from your lungs. 2. Now, inhale slowly through the nose to the count of 6, and when you feel like your lungs are completely filled, try to inhale a bit more. 3. Hold your breath to the count of 8. Eventually, start working on holding your breath to the count of 12. 4. Exhale through the mouth to the count of 8. Do not release all the air at once and try pursing your lips to release the air more slowly. And when you feel like you have no more air in your lungs, exhale 1 breath more. 5. Hold your breath again to the count of 8 while keeping your rib cage and abdomen tight and contracted. If you can't hold your breath to the count of 8 without feeling overwhelmed, hold it for a lesser time and try to work toward holding your breath to the count of 8. Repeat these steps 10 times in the morning and any time during the day for a burst of energy. You can do this exercise sitting or standing. We are becoming poor breathers because of the sedentary lifestyle we are habitual of leading. For millions, tasks like a short walk or climbing stairs create an out-of-breath feeling. The most common sense of breathlessness is simply being out of shape. Leading such a lifestyle brings about shortness of breath, especially when the time comes to perform a simple task. Adding smoking or obesity to the equation or merely lifting the heavy box is sure to put on huffs and puffs. With growing age, the odds of being inactive increase even more. The lungs, heart, and our circulatory system start to weaken. thereby discouraging older persons from keeping themselves engrossed in an active schedule. People who spend hours sitting on a chair can develop severe health issues because of poor body posture and breathing style. People have stopped moving out of their houses, and the lack of physical exercise has made things even worse. The sad reality is that evolution is also not favoring us in improving our breathing naturally. Scientists who have studied Samuel Morton's skulls that are aged between 200 to thousands of years throw light on an amazing discovery about the shrinking nasal apertures of the modern man in comparison to people who lived thousands of years ago. From the observation of the skull, scientists have found that the ancient people very likely never snored or had sleep apnea, sinusitis, or the other chronic respiratory problems that affect modern populations. But when scientists studied the modern-day skulls, they found shrunken sinuses and crooked teeth. This raised a fundamental question on the human evolutionary changes that correspond to the idea of de-evolution, which was made popular by Harvard biologist Daniel Lieberman. It explains why our backs ache, feet hurt, and bones are growing more brittle with every passing day. The concept of de-evolution also helps in examining why man in today's world is breathing so poorly. When the odds are against us, we need to put in the required extra effort to succeed. To make our breathing healthy in a natural way, we need to put ourselves in a deliberate practice similar to how athletes train themselves. Practice deliberate breathing, which means slow breathing that is healthy for your body and mind. That's 5.5 seconds inhales and 5.5 second exhales. That's 5.5 breaths a minute for a total of about 5.5 liters of air. This is the perfect breathing. Make this a practice, a daily ritual, and gradually, your breathing will change for the better.